Live streaming. Yeah, so I think we are live. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
So am I going to try and do an introduction again?
Yeah, might as well do an introduction.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Well, I mean, it's your house, so you want to?
okay. Yeah,
Do you need
so
to say anything first, or should I just get started?
you can you get started.
All right. So my name is Will George.
Get started.
I'm the I'm sorry, I'm the director of engineering at Epsella. But what engineering at Epsella means is mostly network engineering, but also all the other stuff. Uh, what software gets written, what systems there are, what cloud systems there are, all that stuff, right? So Uh, and I've been doing IT and mostly networking for a very long time now. I think I started in IT. Yeah, I started screwing around with computers in high school, and that was in the 90s. And then I was like in the army for a long time, like 11 years, and then I've been out of the army for a long time. So I've been messing around with networks for a long time. The project here is called Tom Sykowski. Um, it's a network automation broker. It is a middleman. Its role is to there's a couple different reasons why there's I think value in having a middleman for this, a broker, if you will. Kind of there's a couple points. One of those points is um, what's the way to say this? I think there's like two or three. One of them is just separation for separation's sake. It is a lot of times really useful to just have a demarcation point where everything on this side of this line is the realm of web developers and people that are writing software that's interface with humans and other external systems. And on the other side of that line is the domain of the people running your internal network and the software that runs your internal network. And usually, uh, you don't want that line to be very fuzzy, right? You want real clear understanding of like, hey, this is who's allowed to do things over here. This is who's allowed to do things over there. um, in network automation, a lot of times we find ourselves just being network engineers and writing software. And it's not that that's a bad thing. In fact, it's fantastic, especially for proofs of concept and things. That domain knowledge of networking is really good to have at the very beginning stages of a project. But when it comes time to really tighten it down and really make it sort of something that you can ship to customers or expose to people that are outside of networking or outside of IT or outside of your company entirely, um, it needs to be really robust enough that it was developed probably by somebody whose whole job is building web applications or chat interfaces or MCP servers or what have you, right? Um, and those guys are not going to have your domain knowledge about networking. And so what's really useful for them is to have just an API they can talk to. Traditional, easy REST API, the same one that's in every tutorial ever. It's just HTTP methods against a server and output comes out. Okay, you need to authenticate to it a certain way. Um, but it's bog standard API, and they don't really have to worry about the details of how do I talk to Juniper, how do I talk to Nokia, how do I talk to Cisco, how do I talk to Arista, how do I talk to ViOS, how do I talk to any of these things, right? They don't need to import libraries like NetMiko in their code, right? They don't even need to be running Python, right? Um, Python is a great tool for network automation, and it's a pretty good tool for writing web interfaces. But there are people that will disagree. They'll say, "Hey, I would really like to, this web interface really should be written in Go. It really should be written in Node. It really should be written in whatever else." And to have the constraint of, oh well, you've got to use Napalm. Well, Napalm's written in Python, so if you're using the Napalm libraries, you're using Python. It's the only way to do it, right? So it really serves. It's a little bit of a security game, but it's also just a separation of concerns so you can kind of right tool for the right job on one side and a different tool for another job on the other side. You can even have multiple different clients using whatever library or Bash or whatever, or Postman or any other tool that can submit a REST sort of query, can now talk to your gear, right? So that's kind of the main, I'd say, point of Postman, or I'm sorry, of Tom. The other kind of point is that all that aside, there's a lot of little things you have to do. There's a lot of work you have to do if you're going to talk to network gear. And it is not great that you need to reinvent all those wheels or re-implement all those wheels every time for every project, right? If you write a chat interface for your NOC that needs to be able to get wireless signal strength from your access points, right? And then later you need to write a web interface that's going to populate a user-facing web portal that's going to tell them their wireless signal strength, right? Both of those are going to need to import Napalm. Both of them are going to, or NetMiko, or however you're using to interact with your devices. Both of them are going to have to do all that work. Both of them are going to need to account for, oh, well, some of the access points are Cisco, some of them are Ruckus, so we need both sets of libraries, or we need both sets of sort of configurations to be present in the, into the code. There's all this coupling. And so you end up, and you need to get creds into each of these systems, and they need to be handled securely and reasonably. They're both going to need to generate the right config, or the right, CLI for each device. They're going to need to interpret the CLI output of each device. And it's just a lot of the same work over and over again. So the point is, well, you have a middleman that does all that stuff. He does just the nuts and bolts of, like, how do I talk to network gear and get data out of them and hand it off to someone else, right? And do it securely and do it fastly, do it in a way that, for instance, if you've got 5 or 10 or 15 or 30 different projects, how many of those are trying to hit a particular device at a particular time? It can be beneficial to have those requests be bottlenecked, right? We talk about bottlenecks usually in a negative way, but there's some value to that as well, right? To make sure that you've got one point of control that knows how many things are talking to a given device at a certain time. How many outstanding requests are there against the management plane of this switch or that router, that access point, those kinds of things. So that's the point of Tom, is to be that broker, that middleman that sits right in between. So that's Tom Sykowski, the network automation broker.
And what's the difference between that and RESTconf?
RESTconf is a protocol that devices can support. That's it. So the management plane of that device supports mostly SSH. It could also support RESTconf. Somewhat mixed in with RESTconf is this idea of, like, consistent modeling and things. It's, how consistent is consistent, right? How standardized is the modeling? In theory, RESTconf, it's usually tied in with Yang models, so that possibly, in theory, you would not have to re-implement how you process the output from RESTconf differently if, say, both Juniper and Cisco support RESTconf. In theory, you should be able to, like, digest the interfaces from either. In practice, I haven't legitimately tried it enough times to say it definitely doesn't work. But I've tried it a bit. It didn't seem to work a whole lot. It seemed like you were always going to need to have sort of bespoke or device specific interpretation of that output. But less so. But that's down to, does the device support it, right? If RESTconf, like, if the device doesn't have RESTconf, then you're not talking RESTconf to it, right? It's a feature the device has to have, and it's going to use whatever models it uses, and those models will be as consistent as they are. These are just like SNMP MIBs, right? They're a structured format that data is supposed to be in, but that's standardized to some degree and not necessarily a whole lot is sort of the reports that I've heard, right? At AutoCon, I think we heard mostly that, you know, it exists and it's useful, but it doesn't guarantee or promise really aggressive standardization. It's more standardized than nothing, but it's still really bespoke and device specific. I guess the other thing is talking to RESTConf still requires, I mean, it's a sliding scale, right? It requires more domain knowledge than you would probably need to have talking to Tom. End of the day, though, when you talk to Tom, you're still telling Tom, run such and such a command, right? So in order to do that, you still have to have some domain knowledge, right? To know that that's the correct command to run, right? In order to get the output you need, right? Show all the interfaces or show the routing table or whatever, right? So you're always going to need some domain knowledge, but the idea is to kind of minimize it, right? So maybe domain knowledge about which commands to run, but not domain knowledge about this gear supports this encryption standard for SSH, whereas some other gear supports an older encryption standard. Or this gear you got to use Telnet, or that gear uses some other some other set of parameters. So these are the timings you need to use because on this gear the management plane is slower than on other gear, right? That kind of stuff, right? So that's still domain knowledge, but you can get away with less of it with using something like Tom. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right. Hey, is the crackling too loud? Do I need to move?
I can't hear the crackling at all.
Fantastic. I can, and it's lovely. Okay. But let me know if that becomes a problem. I can move further away and stuff.
Okay. All right. So what's next? I guess for the if there's I should so I have okay, I do have the visibility into the chat here. It'd be nice to pop that out. Oh yeah, I can pop it out. It'd be nice to like pin that. But so if anyone asks any questions or anything, you can take that. Looks like two people are watching. So I guess I'll just go through now that we've got a sense of Tom. I'll show the lab topology that we're working with. Um, so we've got a topology straight out of John Capobianco's Automate Your Network book. I pretty much took that directly out of there and then made my own. I gave it an out-of-band management network using switches uh, in GNS, just like hubs. So aside from that, there really isn't much configuration on the network aside from the connections to the out-of-band management network, but everything's up and running. I've verified it, so I can actually go in and log into these devices. If I, yep, all of there. So this is a live network. Unfortunately, I can start the capture, but I can't from this interface open Wireshark, but I could do it if I had the client version. So we've got a full lab up and running. So that brings us over to this device here, and you can see it's marked "You are here" there. So that's where this is. So on that we've got VS Code and we've got Nautobot up and running on that device as well.
Hey, Graham, if you don't mind, can you share that on Teams as well? You were earlier, but it went away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it went away. Okay. So
or is it going to give you a hard time if you try to share both?
It should be good.
Okay, cool, great, thanks.
Yep. Okay. So what's next? Are we gonna do the 5-minute minimal setup?
I'm sorry, I muted myself like a fool.
Oh, sure.
I'd say if you do me a favor, if you just start with the architecture, and that would be pretty good, kind of.
Okay.
So, this is just kind of re-describing what I said earlier, real briefly. These boxes are the NAF, the Network Automation Forums Network Automation Framework, right? And so you see Tom Sykowski's just right there. So Tom Sykowski's job isn't to go and discover your network. It's not to derive what configs are appropriate. Its own job is just to sit right there, be that shim, right? Right between all the intelligence above and the actual gear below, right? You scroll a little bit more. And then I just want to get to the point where it talks about the controllers and workers. There's some diagrams for the controllers and workers here. Or perhaps perhaps there's not. Maybe I go down to next steps. Maybe click on architecture again. I clearly need to rename some of these. Okay. So right there, that right at the top, that line diagram is fine. So you've got a controller, you've got a worker, in between them is Redis, right? Your code, the client's sort of the client applications, they're going to send in requests to the controller, right? And the controller, this is a process running in a container, right? It's going to interact with some inventory source. We'll get into that in a second. The request into the controller is going to be something like given, for device XYZ, right? Which is not just a raw IP address, right? It can be, but it's better if it's not. It's just a reference into the inventory. So for WebDev 1 or WAN Management 01 or whatever the router's name is, do a show IP interface brief. Okay. It's going to look up the target in that inventory source, and that's what's going to tell it all the things it needs to know to talk to that, except for the credentials. Okay. That's the other thing, is included in that request that comes in is going to be another reference to the credentials. So you're going to say, talk to router 01 using credentials named, backend creds or, context creds or whatever it is you call them. And this is not the username and password themselves. This is just a reference, a link to those creds. Okay. So the controller is going to look up the inventory information. He's going to construct a job. That job goes into Redis. And then a worker, any number of workers, can pick up that job, right? That job has almost everything the worker needs. It's missing the credentials. The worker goes to the credentials store, which is another service somewhere else, and pulls the credentials out, okay? The reason this is that way the credentials are in the fewest possible places, right? In theory, we could look up the credentials all the way at the controller, but if we do that, then the credentials are present in the memory of the controller. The credentials are possibly going to get leaked whenever the controller crashes and shows a traceback, right? Or will be present in debug output or other things, right? So you want the fewest possible places to have those credentials, right?
Yeah.
Because these credentials are, say, your TACX creds. These are the things that are the credentials that are in fact used to talk to your gear. Okay, so these are the same credentials that you could use to log into the gear and make production changes. Okay, or do whatever it is those credentials are allowed to do. So the worker looks up the creds, and now it has all the information it needs, and it goes out and it talks to the target, runs the command, collects the output, and then that output goes back into Redis, goes back to the controller. The controller does any more processing that's required if you're templatizing it or anything, doing converting from converting to structured text or any of that stuff, and then it hands it back to the requester. Right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
And if you scroll, there's like a sequence diagram and other things for if you really want the for real details.
Oh, here we go.
Right? So this is that whole process again, right? Where it's just kind of, you can kind of see where they, yeah. So this is that process. Okay. So, I don't think we need to go too deep into it, but the whole goal is just there's two modes. Okay. There's synchronous and asynchronous, right? Depending upon what you need, sometimes it is obvious that you definitely just want to wait until the output is ready and get the output as soon as it's ready.
Yeah.
Other times, it's obvious that you definitely don't want to do that. You want to, for instance, queue up as many jobs as you can and then get the. So in the one case, you just wait and the output comes to you eventually. In the other case, what you get back immediately is a job ID, and then you can check back later to see if the job's done yet and get the actual output, right? Sort of an IOU or a valet ticket or anything like that, right? So something like that. So um, I think that's probably, if you scroll more, just let me see if there's anything else worth talking about. Yeah, just scroll some more. Yeah, new waiting, all that stuff. These are just states. It supports caching. Generally, caching is enabled with something. I should have looked this up before the call, but I didn't. I think it's something like 5 minutes. Again, sometimes caching is an obvious win. You definitely want it. In other cases, you obviously definitely don't. So we support both, right? So I think it is enabled by default much of the time, but it's easily disabled and easily opted out of. And you can do things like what's the word? You can use caching most of the time for a certain piece of data, but opt out of it for a certain request, or you can force a refresh. You can do things to make sure that this result never gets cached, things like that. There's just little knobs as the requester, right? You don't have to edit the code of Tom to do this. This is from the client application. You can kind of control the caching behavior. It's available. Generally, it's useful for most network automation tasks, right? But it just depends on what you're doing, so you can turn it on or turn it off, right?
Okay.
And more about the credential flow. Per device concurrency, I talked about that. Like the default is it only allows one device at a time, or one connection per device at a time. So you might submit, let's say I've got 3 commands that I want to run on 100 different devices. You can submit all those jobs all at once, and you can be assured that those commands are going to run. Like, you might have 3 commands queued for each device, but they're all going to run one at a time. But many devices will be running all at the same time, right? So it handles that concurrency. It serializes that stream of things, and that way you're not abusing the management planes of this network gear. I mean, it all depends. Different gear has different behavior, but a lot of it has a management plane that is maybe slow and gets slower the more you talk to it. I think it's been a while since this was a huge risk, but people run old gear all the time, so it's still a big risk for them. But it was a bigger risk back in the day where certain commands, like if you ran it, if you had 2 people looking at, refreshing the routing table too often all at the same time, you could like occupy the CPU too much and cause like actual routing protocols to fail and things like that, right? Gear used to be a lot more anemic than it is today. That's less of a concern now. It's still a concern, and it's still probably worth controlling. You don't want to abuse the management planes of your equipment, right? So that's present as well. But I think that's probably it here.
Okay.
And then the actual tutorial we're going to do is that Tom with Autobot right there.
Okay.
So all of these are sort of the prerequisites, right? These are just the things you need present in order to run it, right? What it's going to give you by default is a I didn't specify this before. There's a number of different inventory sources it supports, and there's a couple different credential sources that it supports, right? The inventory sources right now, SolarWinds. So this is a bad inventory source, like architecturally, right? Jeremy Stretch would be upset, right? but the practical reality is sometimes is your monitoring system is your system of record, right? So if that's the case, it can talk to SolarWinds, it can extract inventory data from there, and can understand by looking at your SolarWinds which devices exist, what are their IP addresses, should I use SSH to talk to them, things like that. And then the credential, and the other ones that it supports is Netbox and Autobot, right? So we're going to be using Autobot today. And then for a credential source, the 2 that are implemented right now are AWS Secrets Manager and a thing called HashiCorp Vault. Both of them are purpose-built to be secure mechanisms for the retrieval and distribution of secrets like credentials, right? API tokens, username and password combinations, things like that, right? So as part of this, it's going to deploy Vault. It's going to deploy Vault in an inherently insecure manner. This is not a production-ready config. Vault will tell you loudly that the way it's being ran here is it's called dev mode, and it is not something you should just run in production, right? But the path is there, right? There are smarter people that will talk you through how to set up a production-ready Vault installation. But for our purposes today, we're going to be using dev mode, or Vault in dev mode.
Okay.
So these are the first couple of things that we're going to want. So you're going to update the config file for, and this is, you're working out of a cloned copy of the Tom repository.
Right. Yeah, we did a bit of prep work before starting the screen or the stream, but it wasn't much. It was just simply clearing out the old one we were experimenting around in, and then setting up fresh.
Yeah, fantastic. So we'll just want to edit. I think they're right there. The auth mode, API key headers, or is that what it says? I don't know. Go back to the tutorial. I can't remember what the first settings lists
are. So plugin URL. Yeah.
I should reorient this because it's kind of silly, but okay. Yeah, go for it. So you'll want to find where it starts talking about not a bot, and update those.
Okay. So here's the URL and the token. Yeah. So probably get that from admin, right?
No, I mean you can just grab it from the address bar.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can get the URL from the address bar. The token, yes, you go to admin and admin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then tokens are all the way down there. Yeah. It took me a while earlier today to find this because I forgot where it was. And that key right there, you can just copy that or you can create a new one. It's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And then scroll down a little bit. I changed my mind and I didn't update the documentation. Before the documentation is written saying that custom fields are the thing you should do, I've changed my mind. What you should do is config context. So that actually is already set up for you. Okay. So you see that says plugin, not about credential source is config context. The other option is custom field, right? And then that's a path. So what you'll need to do is if you go back into the into the docs, I think there's if you scroll, does it tell you? Nah, it doesn't give it to you. Give me a second and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I need to put this in the docs.
All right.
But there's just some JSON that we're going to put in there. So I guess the thing you'd want to do is go ahead and navigate to your not a bot.
Okay.
And go into the device, and I'm going to paste this into Slack, and we'll see how this does. Did that get to you?
Yeah.
It's in the huddle. So in Slack in the huddle. Yeah, you're going to edit the device track. Yeah. And all the way down in there, there's a thing called config context. Nope, not comments. Yeah, there it is. So there's like a chat associated with the huddle, and it's in there. So that's in there. If you want to look at it, you can click on where it says config context there, and you can kind of confirm that it's present. So, yeah, it displays it as JSON or YAML. Same difference, right?
Yeah.
And let me. Back to my docs here. And that, I think that's most of the raw setup. Oh, generate an API key. So I've got the steps in there. You can generate an API key however you would like to do so. This is the API key. Nope. This is the API key for Tom itself, right? One of the important things, I guess this deserves saying explicitly. I talked a lot about, golly, the worker's just going to check out the credentials it needs. Well, I firmly believe that's the right thing for the worker to do. But what we've just done, though, is we've said that Tom can check out whatever credentials it needs, which means users of Tom can check out whatever credentials they want. That's not so what that means is authentication to Tom is pretty important, right? If you have Tom set up so that it doesn't require any authentication, well, then no one requires authentication to mess with your network, and that's not good, right? So you definitely, what this tutorial is showing is setting up an API key. API keys are wonderful for like little test things like this. In production, you would probably not want to use an API key like this. You would probably be better using OAuth. Tom supports OAuth. Right now, the list of providers it supports is a little low, right? Well, it'll support a generic one, which in theory should support anything, quote unquote. But what I found is, as much as OAuth is a standard, everyone that implements OAuth does it a little differently. So what I've gotten it working on provably so far is it definitely supports Microsoft. So like Entra ID, it definitely supports Google for Google authentication and stuff. And it supports, through the generic one, it supports Duo, right? And all of those work, so you can tie it into multi-factor authentication. Whatever schemes are already in place for your network, you can use all of those, right? Here we're just going to use an API key, okay?
Okay.
So in the docs, there's a little snippet of Python. There's just a handy way to just generate an easy to use API key, string of random digits. There you go. There's your API key. So you copy that, and that'll go in your config. That is towards the top of the file. There it is. Tutorial API key replace me.
Yeah. Auth mode.
Yeah,
oh,
auth
this
mode
one
is set
here?
to API.
Okay.
You can specify the header to use. Don't replace the :admin.
Oh, okay.
Or type it after. It doesn't matter. There isn't really such a thing as like role-based permissions inside of Tom, but I want to have that. That's on the roadmap. So what you're doing is you're associating that key with that user, but that user doesn't mean anything really right now. There's not differentiated access. That we want to have that. We don't have that yet. So anyone that can access Tom can access anything that Tom can access. Okay. So already that sentence probably means it's not suitable for production in a lot of places, but we're working on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's still under development.
Yeah. So that's your API key. So I think you're good there. Okay. That config is good. So save it if you need to save it, and then you can fire up Docker Compose, and we can start the environment. Yeah, you want to do Docker Compose pull. Will be like the first thing you want to do, just to make sure you got flipped images, because I pushed some new ones today. Oh, sudo, yeah. All right, Docker Compose up. And it's up to you whether you want to open another window to kind of interact with the CLI and leave this one here, or you can just press D to detach. Yeah, it's up to you.
Okay.
But anyway, it's running. I like to always, everybody's tutorials always say use -D to throw it in the background. I hate that. I always want to see the logs. There's other ways you can get to them. It's not like they're hidden or impossible to find. But I always like just having them there.
I think I'll do it.
So it's running. So sort of the first thing you can take a look at in the tutorial. I've got some curl commands you can run.
Okay.
There's before you do that, you'll want to load some credentials into the thing, and I've got a script there to help you do that.
Okay. Let me move it over so it's open here. So I'll do a Control C, Docker Compose down.
You don't need to do that.
Okay.
Once you've shut it down, you can do up from the other window. It'll be fine.
Okay. This window. Okay. C, Docker. Stop. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'd rather have it here.
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
Okay, so what you'll want to do is in the setup or in the tutorial doc, there's some commands to. It's in your real browser, yeah. You scroll down to where it starts talking about UV run cred load, right? So those commands. So up a little bit more. Store credentials, right? So store device credentials in both. So I don't know the creds for your lab devices.
Yeah.
Right? But you would store those inside of Vault. So Vault is going to use those creds, or I'm sorry, Tom's going to use those creds. So and if you don't really have defined credentials, maybe you can go create some, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the device.
Yeah, we can create just about any credential. If some of these don't have a throwaway password, or they're
well, you'll want to do that in the device we have configured, which is your what is it, WAN dist 01 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you make a username for him first to use.
So it's logging. So it's login. So that's set up for. So we should set up. Looks like we gotta set up SSH on it, which takes me back to networking school.
Oh yeah. I forgot to. So I didn't get to check for these things.
It's like IPSSH version 2 and then IPSSH. Crypto key generates.
Yeah, I think it's just crypto key generate. I think it's not under IPSSH. I think it's
Oh, that's right. Crypto. Yeah. Key generate. RSA. 512-2048.
That should be good as far as I know, but I don't know. Yeah, you just whatever works.
Yeah,
this is a thing that I've committed to memory.
And then it's like line.
Now if you do well, now you want to do version 2, or
oh, you have to do it afterwards.
Yeah. IPSSH first. It says it wants at least 768, so fine. Yeah.
Logic this. Yeah.
There you go. What's next?
Username.
Yeah. Whatever you want, admin or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you want Tom to have access to.
Password. Really secure. Line. 2Y. Maybe there's only 4. There's only 5 lines. Real cool. I think that's it, isn't it?
I'm, we should probably just double check and make sure that you can just SSH to this with those creds before we start to invoke
Yeah.
anything else. I've been pampered by being in an environment with TACAX set up for too long to remember how to set this up well.
So WAN distal 1. Uh,
Didn't
okay.
like it. Is
Missing
there
something.
you enabled SSH, or maybe you didn't? Maybe you have to do IP SSH enable or something. Server.
No, I don't remember that. It should be right off the top of my head here. Section. So admin, did I use admin? Yeah, I did. Okay. What else we got? Login local, did that make it on there? Oh, transport input SSH is the final one. That's the one that
Yeah,
gets you on the final exam.
that's right.
Failed the final exam.
I was about to look it up.
Oh, but now it's
Now it's that
yeah. Oh,
you should be able to bully SSH into supporting
yeah.
algorithms,
It's like
but
dash.
I always have to. I always Google or ChatGPT that.
Just do this. Oh, we have to use inputs. Or is it? It's dash dash. Uh, oh no, it's not dash dash.
It's like it's something that's just like config or something like that, right? It's not dash X algorithms. It's like dash
Um,
config or something where you're like, I'm going to specify a parameter here, and then the parameter you're specifying is Kex algorithms equals.
oh,
I was
well,
isn't my shut up.
we have technology.
Linux SSH specify.
We have technology.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have given it the error as well.
-O space, and then what you had.
Oh, right. I forgot about the dash O.
Yeah. No. It's -O space and then Kex algorithms. So not another dash for Kex. And it's lowercase o, sorry.
Oh.
Same thing. But now instead of Kex algorithm, ciphers is the other one. So so -O Kex, what you've got, and then -O ciphers equals what they've got. It might want ciphers as no, as a capital C, but maybe not. It's definitely ciphers with an S. Does it really not? Is it not going to let you talk SSH RSA no matter what? Or is that just called something else? Ciphers, SSH, RSA, open, SSH. Open SSH 8.8, August 2021, disabled that algorithm by default. Configuration and re-enabling. Oh, it's host key algorithms. Host key algorithms. It's not a cipher. It's a host key algorithm.
Oh, yeah. All right, it's in now. Oh, I have to do the password. There we go. It's in now. Oh, I don't have a password. I have to do the enable. Man, it's so it wants to it's tricky. Okay, so now I'm SSH in, and I can get to priv exec mode. There we go. Oh, sounds like you dropped off. Hey,
Yeah, hey, my battery is not, I guess, what I thought it was. So we are tethered again.
okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, so I got the device accessible through SSH now.
Yeah, great. Yeah, was that it? Just the host key algorithms? Instead of the
Yeah,
thing?
and then I had a old key there that I had to remove, but that was it.
Oh, yeah. That happens. Okay, so let me pull open my docs here. Sykowski documentation. Docs. Okay, well, anyway, so we've proven that. So now Tom should be able to access it, right? So, can you share again?
Yep.
Sweet. Is it? Or is it? There it is. Beautiful. Okay, so great. So you're in there, and those creds worked.
Yeah.
So now what you want to do is you want to store those creds in Vault.
Okay.
And there's a way to do that, right? I wrote a little helper script to just make that easier, right? Again, this script is not something you probably want to run in production, right? But for these purposes, in production, presumably, you probably, if you're going to run something like Vault, or if you're going to run something like AWS Secrets Manager, that's a whole thing you need to get set up, right? And in populating it with credentials that are appropriate is its own task, right? But for our little thing right here, it's like number 4, store device credentials in Vault. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So those, but changed to be whatever it is you actually want them to be. And then for sanity's sake, what I'd ask you to do is actually set the default to something that doesn't work, and then set context configs to something that does work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That way we can know that we're actually using the config from the Autobot, right?
Okay. Good. Oh, I think actually I don't have a dash, or I don't have an underscore. Let me check.
So is Dr. Compose is still running, right? What did it whine at you about?
I gave it the wrong password.
Oh,
Yeah, so I just have to change that. Okay, so I ran the command twice.
that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. It should update it. Yep.
All right.
Supposedly. All right. So now what's next there? So this is up to you. You can use curl commands to kind of mess with it, or it has built in like an API docs web page that you can use interactively. So whichever of those kind of suits you, or whichever you'd like to do first, we can do whichever of those you'd like to do first.
Um, I guess the interactive one I was thinking.
Sure. So the URL is just going to be, localhost, whatever ports. I think it's 8,000 slash. I don't know, something I gotta look up. I think it's slash docs. It's either slash docs or slash API docs. There it is. Yeah, I was in there earlier. So this is the docs for Tom Sykowski. Okay. So the first thing we'll do is if you just try any of those, right? Like try the slash health, right? So if you open up slash health, there's a try me or whatever.
Yep.
Try it out and click a button, and it's supposed to not work, right? Because you haven't authenticated. Oh, it says status okay. So, well, maybe the health. You know what? Health, I guess, is supposed to be unauthenticated. Okay, so go down to credentials. We're gonna list the credentials, right? That should definitely not work because you're not authenticated, and if it is, we need to fix your config. So try it out. What does it tell us?
401.
Unauthorized, right? Beautiful. So if we go all the way to the top, there's an authorize button. Yeah. And you're going to want to stick that API key you created in there.
Okay.
And then authorize. Okay. And then just close the window or whatever, and then go try that command again and see how that. So in theory now it should work.
Okay,
Hey,
200.
there we go. So what it did is it went to the inventory source, it went to Vault, and said which keys exist, right? What credentials exist in here. So you loaded them in there. So there they are. They exist. So that means Tom can use them. So let's try something else. What's the other thing I say to try? Oh, look at the inventory source. So inventory, there's like an export. No. Inside of Tom.
Okay.
Inside of Tom. So if you go find the inventory and look at the export. And let's see if this works. Here we go. Look at all these devices it found. No, it found them. They're there.
Yeah.
So what it found was you had those 3 devices inside of Nautobot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it found the IP addresses and ports. Okay. So it did a couple things, right? So we can see that for the 2 that we didn't give a context for, it's got default creds, right? So it applied the defaults for the defaults. For the one that we were working on, WAN disto 1, it's got context creds. Okay, so that's the config context you put in there. It pulled that. There's another there's another sort of thing that can be specified that we didn't talk about, which is the adapter and the adapter driver. Okay, so there's NetMiko is the most common sort of library everybody uses to talk to gear. It's not the only one. There's another one called Scrapply. There's also Napalm. There's others. Okay. What we've got implemented in Tom is just NetMiko and Scrapply.
Okay.
And then all of them will have this concept of adapter drivers, which is, hey, if I'm talking to JuneOS, I need to behave differently than if I'm talking to Cisco. And this isn't just about CLI syntax. It's also things about how do I know that the config, like how do I know that the router is done outputting its output? You know, what is the prompt in each of these devices? What character tells me that I'm in config mode or not, right? All those little details are implemented in these libraries, and you got to tell it which one is which, right? You got to tell it, hey, this is a Juniper device, this is Cisco, this is an ASA, this is an ASR, right? You got to tell it these things, and this is how you do that. You can specify these things in the config context as well. You can also use custom fields and not in Netbox and Autobot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't do that. We're just taking the defaults here, Cisco iOS, because to be simple, okay? So it looks like the inventory's intact. So the other thing you can do is go try and run a command. So there should be a section here called devices. So I don't know if that's up or down, but scroll and yeah, device. There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, device. Open that up. And so you know what the device name is. That's WAN Management 01, right?
Okay.
Or WAN Dist 01, sorry.
Okay.
Is this not giving you it's not giving you a place to enter? Oh, wait. Scroll down more. Does it have, can you edit where it says edit value? Like if that doesn't work, you might have to.
Okay, that.
Okay, so
Sure.
you'll just want to delete the things that you're not going to configure here. Okay. For weight, I would set that to true.
Okay.
Parse false, parser text FSM. I would include raw timeout, use cache. I would delete username and password. Those are super naughty.
Okay.
And you have to delete the trailing comma, sadly. And I would delete where it talks about parse and parser and template. The rest I think you can leave. It's fine. This is not a great interface for this, but it should suffice. We'll see.
So we got.
Keep scrolling. Well, that's the equivalent command you ran. And here's your output. Ah, so it didn't. We got a trace back. That's naughty. Probably we gave it. Oh. It didn't find credential/context _ creds. Go look at the list of credentials again. It should still be there if you just scroll. I don't remember if it was up or down. It said it couldn't find them. Oh, you called it context _ configs.
Oh,
so go ahead and I would just upload it again as context _ creds.
Upload it again. Okay.
Yeah, in the yeah.
So in Autobot?
No, in your
Oh, I see.
at the CLI. No. You used UV to upload the creds into.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Context configs. So I would just hit up and then change that to creds instead of configs.
For both of them. Okay. And it's an underscore?
Yeah, creds. Yeah, creds, not configs. Okay. And then that should do it.
Okay. Should I do it for the default as well?
No. This is the name that you're defining. You're defining. Well, what is the correct password? Is it very secure or very secure with an underscore?
No underscore.
Okay. Well, then we want it to be correct. So
yeah.
Okay.
Should be good now.
So now, if you execute the list of credentials again, it'll exist. Yeah. But also it should exist now. It should. See?
Now,
I don't know why it's so hard to find where you were at before.
Well, because the
just scroll way higher. Just scroll. It's like up to the top. You'll see it. It'll be huge. It'll be a big block of output. There you go. Or nope.
This is the inventory.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah.
This is the actual output. So if you scroll up some, it didn't like it. So here, that's from your router. Your router is complaining that it didn't like the command you gave it. So let's scroll up and let's.
It's because it's not in privexec mode, I think.
Well, show run should be a real command.
Oh yeah, I guess can you do it if you're not in enable mode? I thought you couldn't.
Oh, okay. So if you're not in enable mode, okay, let's do show IP int brief or something. Okay. You know what I mean? Something that's allowed to do.
Okay.
There you go. There's your output, right?
Yep.
So, a neat trick that we're going to get for free here is almost certainly that is included in the list of templates that it gets by default. So, up there, maybe in that request, that same request you had.
Okay.
Yep. Damn. Can you just Control Z a punch and get the text back, or maybe reload the page or something to all those? Yeah, there we go. Parse, parser, all that stuff. So I would just change parse to true, and then remove the template.
Okay.
And then give it a shot. Yeah. Well, you'll need to change the command again, but yeah. All right. What do we get? Oh. You got to change wait to false. Or wait to true. Wait to true. It still did it, but this is that asynchronous mode, right?
Yeah.
Did it work? Scroll some more. Response body. It's not giving you. It's not. It should be in that output where it was talking about NTC templates. It didn't actually give you any output. It parsed. So the template didn't work with your equipment for some reason. So I don't know why. Show. What's another one that might show version? Probably. Or show in description, maybe one of those. There you go. Still didn't like it. So what's going on here? So if you scroll, I'll show you what's going on.
Okay.
It's correctly identifying which template it should use, right? So you see it. I looked in NTC templates. I figured out that from NTC templates, the name of the template I should use is Cisco iOS show version.textfsm. And I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't work. Probably the version of iOS you're using is not properly supported by that template, right?
Yeah.
This is a cumbersome and common story. This is another one of the reasons why I find value in centralizing this, because figuring this out for every automation project is not a wonderful use of time, right? What I found is I'll have some reason to look at the OSPF neighbor output from routers, or I'll have some reason to look at the VLAN output from a switch, and I will need to mess with the templates, right? The templates either won't work at all or will work, but work in a way that isn't really very good for what I need, right? Or they miss a feat, like they capture 6 things, but I need the 7th thing, whatever that is, right? So I'll have to write a custom template, or I'll need to edit the template. And then time will pass, and I'll have another project where I need the same information, and I will have to figure everything out again. What's the right template to use? Oh, wait, I can't. I need to customize it. Or the template used to work, and now it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. So by centralizing the library of templates you use in one place, you can solve that problem one time and only one time and go from there, right? If you happen to have cases where you need different templates for different projects, this supports that as well. You can have them both in the library, and you can specify which one you want to use, right? So you can do the complicated thing if you need to do the complicated thing. Otherwise, you can let it just find the right template and use it. What's another thing that probably could use? Well, here's the other thing to look at real quick. Let's just double check. Go back to your terminal where you've got the logs going, and make sure there's not like a bunch of errors from the worker, right? Is the worker, oh, so we've got to trace back in the worker.
Yeah.
So it didn't like it. Why didn't it like it? Oh, wait. Scroll way down. That's old. That's from when it was originally broken and we had to fix it. Okay. It's not liking it. Authentication to the device failed. But didn't it work before?
Yeah, it worked in
Yeah. I would keep that other one open. Go back to the web page.
Okay.
And then just change, parsed back to false.
Parse back to false. Okay.
And then do show, just execute it again and see if we get. See here, it definitely, so it's reporting a trace. Okay, so clearly I need to fix this, right? If you have parse enabled, it just swallows this error.
Okay.
So I need to fix that. That's not the correct behavior, right? It should tell you there was an error. Why doesn't it like your authentication?
Is it so? It's on port 22, so it looks like it's trying to use that. I wonder if it's using the wrong. So it says incorrect SSH key file. Um,
Yeah, it just that's what it's gonna say every time. Like that just means like key file or whatever. It shouldn't be using a key file at all. It should be using the creds we give it. That's what it's supposed to do.
yeah, so it
Um,
says it's using the wrong username and password.
yeah. Is there a log on that router? Maybe if you maybe just like double check, like log in there
Is this
and
the
see if
username
there's a
here?
log. Why is this not liking your path? It was working.
I think this is the username, Cisco_iOS.
No. That's device
Oh,
settings. That's part of the log from NetMiko, which
okay,
gives really good logs. Um, NetMiko generated that log message,
okay,
and it's telling you like, hey, I was using the Cisco iOS adapter or adapter driver.
okay.
Um, yeah, like from your terminal or whatever. See if you can SSH in there and look at the logs. Like,
Oh, you know what? It's probably dealing with the same KEX algorithms.
well, no, but it connected before, didn't it?
Uh,
It
yeah,
could be,
yeah,
but
we did a show IP interface brief on it.
yeah. Try that again real quick. Let's just
Show IP in brief.
yeah.
And I guess this is the key. Is this device name correct? It looks like it definitely is.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't work at all if that wasn't correct.
Okay.
And the correct means matches whatever's in Nautomon,
Ah, I
right?
see. Oh, is it because we have these fields? We didn't remember.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, we've overridden it.
Oh, okay.
You have to delete that comma. It won't take it with
So
that trailing comma. Yep. Dummy. Okay.
there we go.
All right. So there's that. Okay. Now set parse to true and see if it can parse that. But clearly I need to update it so it surfaces a real error for you.
Real?
There we go. There's my wonderful demo. So because so NTC, like NTC templates comes from the network to code people, right?
Yeah.
So they have published this library of templates. I'm absolutely using it. It's not a lot of times they're plenty good enough, right? Especially for little proofs of concept and stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to run into situations where their templates just don't meet your needs, and you need to either customize the one they have or write a whole new one or whatever. And Tom supports that as well. There are API endpoints where you can send it a bunch of text and it will store that in its little library. It also supports, there's another template rendering engine called TTP, which is I found substantially easier to work with in TextFSM. Um, and it supports that as well, right? It has the same library concept. It will make a reasonable guess as to which one it should use if you ask it to parse and don't tell it which one to use. But you can also tell it exactly which one to use and avoid any doubt, stuff like that. So
Yeah. Cool.
figuring all that stuff out again is one of these things that is, I think, better centralized, right? It's not something that you should solve every time you have a new project, right? It's better to have it in kind of one spot, right, for your environment.
Yeah.
And every environment will need different things, but yeah. So that's Tom. It's running. I guess the other thing to show off would be there is a CLI client. If you want to download that, you can run it. It's written in Go. It should be pretty easy to onboard, right? I guess I'll send you a link to it.
Okay.
But in order to send you a link, I need to find a link. Hey. Oh, I'm trying to. I was clicking on the chat window on your screen. So Tom Client is a little CLI utility, right? And so then from your terminal, right? you can use Tom to interact with devices in the same way that you were just using, right?
Okay. So I gotta git clone it.
Um, do you have to git clone it, or is there an easy link? Give me a second. I've done some work here. Actually, you know what? You certainly do not need to git clone it. I'm a big dummy. Instead of that, why don't you look at this thing that I'm super proud of, which is just the releases page on where you were just at. But yeah.
Oops. There we go. Using as a library.
Yeah, it didn't go or whatever. This is still the GitHub. Just click, right? Is it not? Is it not?
Yeah, it's not. I'll just copy it. Oh, it's because there's a colon at the end. I think. Yeah, the colon. I think.
Oh, I don't know where that came from. Where did I get that? There you go. So download, I guess, Linux x86 64, and it'll run on Linux.
Okay.
This is written in Go, so if you download the source code, you can certainly build it locally, but you gotta have Go installed and stuff. So if you just extract it into somewhere that you can run it from. Did it do anything? Just double click on it to like open it. Oh man, this is gonna make me sad. I haven't ever done this. I don't think. I did it on Windows to make sure the Windows one worked. But I haven't ever like gone to GitHub, download the tar.gz, extract it. There you go. What the hell is in there?
Oops. Let me get at it. That's, okay.
There's some docs in the thing. Okay, so put those into a folder somewhere that you can run them.
Okay. License.
No, that's an archive.
Okay. Just,
You know, the little folder on the bottom of your screen will give you a file manager. Yeah.
So put it on. Just. Oh, can I put it in the Tom folder?
You certainly can. It doesn't need to be at all, but yeah.
Okay. Should I? So I'll make a new folder named CLI.
Sure, whatever you want to call it. It's just somewhere you need to be able to navigate to and run it from there, right? In practice, what you would do is you would put it in your path somewhere if you wanted it to be available, and then you can run it from any folder, right?
Yeah. Oh, I have to extract the
Yeah,
links.
just double click. Yeah.
Okay. Extract to a location. So I'm going to extract to Tom CLI. Extract.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. So there's README and stuff, but if you just CLI into that folder, it should help. It should be able to kind of install itself. Install means just like set up a config for itself.
Okay.
All right. So do Tom client like dash question mark or yeah like
That's a shell.
dash H yeah. Oh, you have to do dot slash. You have to do dot slash Tom client because that's like it's not in your path. So
Yeah.
okay. So I think if you just do if you do config. So if you Tom client config and then just enter and it should give you more options. Create. We're going to create a new configuration profile. Dash A is going to be
We have to give it the name, right? profile name.
Yeah.
So Grant's profile maybe.
Whatever you want to call it.
Great.
Okay. You want to go ahead and activate it, but then you'll need to edit it because you'll need to tell it the API key.
Great.
/ at the beginning. There you go. That's in the, in your user directory, there's a, yeah. So auth provider is going to be API _ key. Oh, wait. This doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Don't change that. OAuth provider doesn't matter at all. You're not using OAuth. So I would just get that. Auth mode, you need to change to API _ key. And then I don't remember how to configure an API key in here, but I will look at the config real quick. Let's see. I think it's just create a new key called, or a new field or whatever called API _ key, and then put your API key in there. This is what it is. That same one that we had to, yeah. And then for some reason, the default is port 8020. I think it's just port 8000 for you. It says HTTP localhost at the top.
Yeah. So it was 8,000.
Pretty sure, yeah. I don't know where 8020 came from.
Okay.
I must have been using that. Doesn't matter.
All right.
All right, so then you would just save that and then try to use Tom Client. Look at the sort of the options again for Tom Client. So we've set up a config for it. It's got a config. What can we do with it? We can mess around with the cache. Go ahead and do export. That's a fun one. So what that should do. So it gives you this. Okay, this is just your inventory. Okay, look at the help for that. Like do -H or -- help. I don't remember which one. Nissan and Freddy. Okay, so export is the thing. So this is just showing you the inventory. Neat, right? There's other. Look at the other options.
Okay.
Oh, so this whole thing needs cleaning up, right? Tom Client inventory, and then -- host file will give you will give the information in a format you could just stick into your host file, right? So if you need to be able to like ping these things by name or what have you, if you don't have DNS set up already, you can just throw that right into your host file and it'll work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Etsy
So
host.
again, it's just pulling these from the because Tom is set up to talk to Nautobot. This is pulling them from Nautobot. But Tom Client is going to Tom to get this information, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I think it's just device to actually interact with the gear. And the same deal, you can just send it a command, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right? So, this can be like the reason this exists is because what I use it for is, man, I work with like a variety of different gear, and all of them will have some kind of filtering. right? All of them will have some kind of sort of manipulations you can do on the CLI output, but they're all different, right? Uh, and they all have like little quirks. Like some of them can filter, and it's whatever filtering they came up with. Others can filter, and it's really regex for real. Some of them are claimed to be regex, but there's a whole lot of features they don't support, or they behave in a way that isn't really regex, right? Um, or sometimes I'll want to do things like log in to each of these 75 devices and collect this output from all of them and show me the ones that match this thing, right? So what Top Client can do is it can just go and grab all this stuff from all your gear, right? And then get it just onto your workstation where you can use all your Linux tools or all your Windows tools to do everything else, right? And now you're not worrying about device specific constraints. Like this one can filter in a way that lets you extract the BGP neighbors and this one can't. Things like that, right? So that's what I use Tom for. And it's also just like a useful like test of Tom itself, right? Tom client, you saw in the config there, it supports, it has the OAuth stuff. So, when I use Tom client, it's authenticating to my instance of Tom using our OAuth setup, right? So it's my, I get a notification on my phone, I have to tap to authorize. That whole workflow all is triggered correctly through OAuth, right? So you can support all those big enterprise things, right?
Yeah.
And security wasn't at the guts of like why I wanted to build Tom. I had mentioned this when we talked before, but I think I neglected to mention it this time. You know, the phrase network automation broker is not a thing I came up with, right? There was a prior project called NetPalm by a guy named Tony, right? A New Zealand guy, really cool. He was at AutoCon. I don't know if you talked to him. Cool guy. He had this project called NetPalm. This was about 5-6 years ago, and I was contributing to NetPalm. But one of the things NetPalm didn't go too deep into is like worrying about the kinds of stuff that I'm worrying about with authentication, right? Where, your authentication to it was an API key. And that's very common. And especially in tutorials and stuff, when people are talking about, I'm going to build a network automation project, and I guess I should have some authentication. What should I do? An API key, right? But an API key is just it's just a secret string of characters, right? So this is no different than just a user, like a password. And very often when you give people an API key, what they do with it is it gets written into the text of the config, just like we did here, right? It gets written into the text of the config and stored on somebody's hard drive in plain text. And that is a terrible, terrible place for your authentication to wind up, right? So OAuth solves a ton of those problems, right? And it does it very robustly, and it's very, concrete and complete, okay? It is the foundation of modern authentication on the internet, and boy, it'd be better if we mostly used OAuth instead of API keys for things, right? With OAuth, you can do it both ways. Sometimes when you do OAuth, you're generating, a certificate and stuff for an individual service, and everyone that uses that service is going to use those credentials. Obviously, that there's some times where that's appropriate, there's some times where it's not. But you can also have genuinely, it's this user authenticating to the service, right? So when I'm authenticating to Tom, it's me, it's Will George, right? In a way that anyone else at Upsella is not allowed to do. And it's not because I wrote a bunch of code to track different users or anything like that. It's built into the fact that I'm using OAuth. I'm getting a different experience because of the way OAuth is set up than other users at my company or other companies that use the same OIDC and authentication setup that we use, right? Other companies use Office 365. Other companies use Google, right? They're not allowed to use my instance of Tom because we're inheriting all the security of the existing enterprise authentication, right? And it's not because I wrote a bunch of code or wrote a bunch of config to exclude them. It's just because we're using OAuth and we're using it in this sort of well-established, secure way. So maybe you just get all that, not for free, but for very cheap, without having to think a lot about it in depth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's it. I think we've seen Tom do things. We configured it. Rambling aside, I think it was a successful demonstration of Tom. We had a little bit of learning there, but before I go, I need to write. What was the thing I said was egregious and needed to fix? Error handling, right?
Yeah, there was an
The
error that
error,
was suppressed.
if you have parsing enabled, I guarantee what it's trying to do is it's trying to parse that error message.
Oh.
So we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to parse. Don't parse error underlines. So I will fix that. That is obviously not the correct behavior. But I don't know, man. I think that's Tom. You sure you want to talk about anything else?
I think that's about it. Yeah, so it's yeah, I mean, for me, like my head is in the clouds of John Capobianco just put out a book, or not. Well, he put out a video recently
Yeah.
where like I want to get LLMs on the network. I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
So a lot of the story behind Tom
Yeah.
is, in the long ago, right? I found Tony's project. I found NetPalm. I was like, this is dope. This is super great. This is fantastic. Um, and I started using it, and I used that to build some internal tools, right? For my NOC and stuff. We manage a lot of switches, okay? And the way we use VLANs is a lot of like little point-to-point routes across a switched network. So it is not like almost never do you see a VLAN that's even on every switch in a site, never mind every switch globally, right? There's one VLAN that is for management that is used in that way, but it's not connected globally or anything like that. But then there's hundreds of other VLANs that are like goes from a switch to Tokyo, to one in Seattle, to one in Chicago, to one in New York, to one in London, to one in Amsterdam, to one in Frankfurt, right? And it's just stretched. It's a layer 2 switching domain that stretches between those cities. And this is for latency reasons and other things, right?
Yeah.
And we have this large inventory of these point-to-point VLANs. And so very often we would be losing time to just like, well, we don't have two-way MACs, and you got to check every switch along the way to see like where's the last switch this MAC address is seen, right? And things like that. And so you would very often want to like query a bunch of switches to see what's the MAC address table for this VLAN on that switch, or what ports do and don't have this VLAN enabled for that switch, right?
Yeah.
And we would want to do that all over the searching the whole network and stuff like that. So the tooling was all around that. And then last year, or I guess 2023 now, the first AutoCon I attended, right, was in Denver. And I walked out of there just immediately convinced, like, yeah, dude, I need to put MCP servers, right? I've got this thing already, this backbone user interface, and that's going to be an MCP server. And it was awful, right? Not because that's a terrible idea, but because to build on top of a thing, like you're using this thing I had as the foundation, and it was immediately clear, like within, I got a toy example running, but it was just really clear, really quick that this was a really bad foundation on which to build, right? I really needed that foundation to be a lot better. And so part of that story was I wanted the network automation broker to be way more focused in, right? So Tony, he built NetPalm and it was great for a lot of things, but he was trying out a lot of different concepts, right? And some of these things are super important for a whole lot of people that aren't me, right? I needed something that was just that little sliver from that architecture diagram, just the thing to sit between my logic and the gear, right? I needed that to be as solidly implemented as it could possibly be, right? And so that's Tom, right? And so now the next phase is rebuild the tooling on top of Tom so that I can feed it to MCP servers and feed it to LLMs, right? But it's got to be, you know, LLMs are difficult enough. The tooling they depend upon must be solid, because if it's flaky already, they're going to make it even more flaky, right? It's just going to be crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, like I never got full coverage of templates for all of the gear because I was always running into just problems. It was hard to deploy because, and this is mostly my fault, right? My learning curve is very present in how the first thing was built and deployed. So it needs still to be replaced. And Tom is the first part of that, right? The other thing's going to be internal to Epsilon, but Tom is, I think there's a lot of organizations that can benefit from Tom, or if not Tom itself, at least a reminder that like a lot of these things deserve to be centralized. I think they should be. Um, so yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
want to get I want to do more AI work, right?
yeah,
But it's just I did a lot and it was super cool, but it was never going to be more successful unless I fixed the foundational issues. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know. Yeah, AI is still in its infancy. All
All
right.
right, this was super cool for me.
Yeah.
You got anything to finish?
I don't think so.
Well, all right. Hey, it was cool talking to you. I appreciate you taking a look at Tom Sykowski.
Yeah. Yeah, if you
And
want to do more stuff, we can set up because it'd be interesting to see how Tom can play a bigger role. If you have any updates on it in the future or anything like that, yeah, feel free to come by again.
awesome. All right. Well, I'll
All
let you
right.
go. You have a
All
good
right.
one.
You too.